And we are live. Welcome everyone tuning in to the hashtag Stories of Healing podcast, episode 11. The focus of the podcast is to share a story and dive into the healing process within that challenging time in life. The story could be about pain, struggle, anxiety, depression, a heartbreak, loss of employment, trauma, or any specific challenge that brought a tough experience to overcome. Stories of Healing is here to inspire, motivate, help others lift and rise up through their past or present struggles by listening in, connecting with the special guest who tunes in to sharing their story of healing and how they overcame their battle. What was their healing process? That being said, good evening and welcome everyone. As a law enforcement officer for almost 20 years, Joe has had the opportunity to experience all walks of life. His message will walk you through his many personal challenges of life, both on and off the job, how he's had to find different ways to overcome them despite what it looked like. Life challenges, which included being abandoned by his father at a young age, to battling kidney disease, which almost led to his death. Joe has taken the time to craft his personal story for the purpose of helping others and has traveled the country doing so. He has become a well-respected public speaker in law enforcement and has helped thousands of people with his message. Joe, who is also a writer for law enforcement's The Blue magazine, decided to dig deeper and to broaden his message after becoming a certified public speaker under the training and certification of Eric Thomas and Associates in Atlanta, Georgia. That's ETA. And that's the home base of Eric Thomas, aka the hip hop preacher, who is currently the #1 motivational speaker in the world. Joe has discovered in his life that in order to be the best, he must learn from the best. Follow along with Joe, and you will discover that no matter what challenges you face in life, you too can overcome. So empowering. Welcome, Joe Hammond. How are you doing tonight, brother?
Hey, man, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm very grateful to have you on the show tonight. It's an absolute honor. Such a powerful introduction, and there's a lot of history and experience here. And I believe listeners tuning in tonight, who may work in law enforcement, first responders, will get a lot of value and insight and some motivation and some love from your story. So thank you.
I'm hoping so.
All right. Joe, tell us a little bit about yourself. And we know you're from Atlanta.
Mm-hmm. Well, actually, no longer. I trained in Atlanta.
Okay.
I'm actually from New Jersey. I'm actually from New Jersey, born and raised. I've spent a lot of time in Atlanta. You're not the first one to think that I was from Atlanta because all the time I've been there, but that's where I did most of my training when it comes down to, I trained under, like you said, Eric Thomas and Associates, and #1 motivational speaker in the world. So yeah, man. You travel to wherever the world leads you, these days to get the best out of the best, but, like you said, I was in law enforcement almost 20 years. Okay. I'm retired now, and I get the opportunity to, travel and speak to the world, man. I humbly served my community for many, many years. Loved what I do, what I did. And you know what, man, it's just, at this point, it's just what's next, so now I get a chance to help people on another level, which has always been my goal. It's when I first got into law enforcement, it was basically because I always wanted to help people. And, I remember being in the police academy when, my commanding officer, he asked me, they're running around, they're yelling in your face, and, it's the orientation day, and they ask you, why do you want to be a police officer? And, my answer was pretty basic. It was, to protect and serve, and that just wasn't good enough for them, because it was just too basic. You know what I mean? Okay, you want to protect and serve. We get it. That's the old cliche, but really, and I really couldn't think of anything else, man. I really, wanted to help and protect and serve people who couldn't protect and serve themselves. And that's how I got into the field, man. And, here I am right now, still helping people on the outside of law enforcement the best way I possibly can.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I find when you get into some career like that, that is very driven towards being in the community and making a big difference on as a first responder. It's a lot at first to go in there and just be like, yeah, I'm here to protect and serve. I could feel that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. And are you ready to dive in tonight?
Hey man, let's go. Let's go, T. I've
Let's
been
go.
looking for this for a long time. I'm a big fan of yours, man. Seriously, I've been watching your stuff, man, and listening to your stuff. I just want you to let you know, man, I'm a big fan of yours. You're doing great things, and just keep going. Just keep going.
I appreciate you. Thank you. And you know what? I'm a bigger fan of you. I love your daily posts. They're
I
so
appreciate.
motivating and inspiring. And we'll get into that tonight. And I want people to really, really feel it. So, what is your
Yeah.
story of which brought you a life challenge or struggle?
Mm. You really are gonna dive in right away, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go
So
right to the beginning.
my story, overcoming adversity for me started early. Okay, it started real early when I was young. As far as I can remember back when I was 5 years old, my dad, it was Thanksgiving. He had stopped by. Him and my mom were separated, and he stopped by, the house, and he said, son, I'll be back on Christmas. I was 5 years old, and I haven't seen him since. And here I am. I'm turning 50 next week, and it was one of those things I had to get through at a young age. Wondering, what it was like to have your biological father in your life. Now, I had my stepfather, who was a great, great man who passed away, who stepped into his shoes and was able to guide me, through certain things in life, man. And I had a great, great teacher in that. But there was always that thing in the back of your mind where you think and you say, why doesn't, your biological father want to be in your life? Why doesn't he want to be around you? And although my father made it easier, my father, when I say my father, I call him my stepfather, my father.
Hmm.
Although he made it easier, there was still always that question in the back of your mind. So overcoming adversity for me started early in life, and I had to find ways to get over it. And I found ways to, through my own different methods. And here I am today. And some of those things that led to other things when you're that young. I dealt with childhood obesity. I dealt with being almost 360 pounds at one time. I also dealt with kidney dialysis because of being
Wow.
overweight, because of being out of shape. I was on 5.5 years of kidney dialysis before receiving a kidney transplant from my sister. And that's as a matter of fact, it was February of 2000. So we're looking at around 21 years, since I had that kidney transplant, and she actually saved my life.
Wow.
I remember when they came to me and they said, listen, you can't do dialysis forever. We're going to have to find something for you because, you're not doing too well. Your body's not responding well anymore. And, I was approaching pretty much, a deadly situation. It was life or death. And, my sister stepped up and, other people stepped up, and it's hard taking someone's kidney.
Mm,
It's hard,
wow.
taking someone's body part. But thanks be to God and thanks be to my sister.
Yeah.
Here we
Shout out
are.
to God and your sister. Let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah. 20.
Uh,
It's been 21 years, man. Thank God. So, and here I am today. And I just finished a great law enforcement career.
Amazing. That's very heavy. And I want to say thank you for sharing that. And during this time, when you lost your, when your father left at a young age and you started battling cancer, or sorry, kidney disease,
Mhm.
and, you're going through these changes at a young age and then and getting into obesity, as well. How did you feel during the challenge or struggles? Like, what were the main feelings and emotions that really took over during your days?
Well, the good thing about me is that I always found a way to keep a positive attitude. That was always me. No matter
Mm,
what, I always had a smile on my face. I always made a decision to be a good person. And I remember, I shared this story with one of my cousins one day, and we were sitting in the park one day. We were having a conversation, and I remember making the conscious decision. It was like it was a conscious decision. I was young, and I said, you know what? I want to be a good person. I really want to be a good person. And it was a breaking moment for me that I realized that that's going to take practice. It really is
Mhm.
going to take practice because let's be honest, we're not always surrounded by good people, right?
Mhm.
We're always, there's always something that's going to test us and challenge us, and we're going to be tempted to do certain things. But from a very young age, I remember being spiritual. I remember being in contact with God. And even that is challenging because, when you're that young, people think you're weird. People think, and you're afraid to come out of that shell, but for me, becoming a good person was imperative, and it was that conscious decision that I made. And I like to believe that I carried that all through my life right now into adulthood. Even today, I try my best to make sure I'm always good to people, the best I could possibly be. Let's be real. We're not always going to get it right. We have our bad days, but at the end of the day, those were some of the things that I talked about when I was younger, getting through, the loss of my father, my biological father not being in my life.
Mhm.
And, getting through, getting through obesity and getting through the challenges of, teens and all the things with the health and all the other stuff that went along with it.
Mhm.
Don't get me wrong. I was very active. I did things.
Sure.
I played sports.
Yeah,
I
what
had
did you do to keep yourself healthy during all
a,
that time?
well, I played everything, and even for a bigger guy, I was always the guy, running up and down the basketball court.
Nice.
I was one of the baseball stars in my community. I had a
Good,
very
good.
successful career. Played a little bit of semi-pro ball, and what I did was I always had the mindset of where I saw myself 10, 15, 20 years down the line. So
Mm.
even though I was heavy at that time, I always had the mindset that I'm not always going to be like this, and that mindset carries over throughout your life. So when you're going through something, okay, when you're going through anything in life, if you have the ability to see yourself out of this situation, to envision yourself actually living in a better life, living in a healthier life, living in a life that's prosperous and beneficial to you and your family. Once you start to put those things into your mind, they're going to manifest. Okay.
Mhm.
That's good and bad. If you start to think negative every day of your life, you start to think, okay, it's just another day, same day, sipping different crap, same day, this is what's going to come into your life. You're going to manifest these things. And I learned at a very young age that all I had to do was start to think about things and meditate on things and start to realize, wow, these things are really starting to come true. But I also realized that when I thought negative at a young age, those things also came true when I thought that things weren't going to work out for me. So I decided to lean more on the positive side, man, and it's been
Mhm.
working. Don't get me wrong. I've had my challenges. I've
Mhm.
had my challenges through relationships and divorce and all those things. But you know, on the other side of that, man, I've learned how to see myself coming out of situations and winning.
Incredible. I love that you have that positive mindset and you talk about manifesting. And I believe, in challenges in life and the things that we go through in our battles, it really comes down to what you're thinking about, where you're putting your thoughts and that mindset. If you, no matter how hard it gets, if you can really put your mindset to something more positive, to something more good, and how you said you were looking into the future where you wanted to be and continually envisioning that. Um, I find as human beings and when we're going through those tough battles, we slowly get pulled out of that negative environment, that negative force, those
Sure.
surroundings, and we like feel more free and we're getting into that positive place that we want to be. And I love that you elaborated that.
My
Um,
mindset is everything, man. Like it really is everything. And listen, are there clinical problems of people with depression? Yeah. Okay.
mhm,
I'll never knock that. I'll never knock the fact that some people need medication. Some people need that extra help, but
mhm,
there's also some of us, okay. There's also some of us who are just lazy, right?
mm,
There are some of us who are, we're spending too much time in front of the TV. We're
mhm,
spending too much time around the wrong people. We're spending too much time doing the wrong things. And, you're actually capable of getting up. Okay. And here's
mhm,
why I can say this. I'll never say anything to you or anyone else that I haven't witnessed or been through myself, right? Or I haven't gotten myself out of. So I know when I was being lazy, right? I know when I was hanging around the wrong people. I know when I wasn't eating the right things and doing the right things in life. I know it. Okay. So there's some people out here in our lives that, we'll blame depression,
mhm.
okay, on
Right.
situations in place of our laziness. Now, again,
Mhm,
like I said, just in case somebody gets a half a clip of this and wants to use it the wrong way, a minute ago, I said there is clinical depression. Okay. There are people out there who need that extra help. But some of us, some of us, we just need to get up off our butts, man, and start to get
Mm.
around the right people and do the right things.
I feel you. I find that there's this type of emotion, as we're getting this new generations are coming in, and I find that the accessibility to like social media and the different ways of how we could just watch movies from home and stay at home and do this and that. I find it's creating, if you're not an active person, if you're not a very outgoing, positive, high energetic human, and you find yourself like really lazy in the mind,
Yeah.
if you face certain challenges and battles in your workplace, in your relationships, and you're lazy in the mind, it's going to be a lot harder for you to get out of that situation to move forward. So I find what you said makes a lot of sense, and I feel that in every way.
Well, T, it's difficult, man. I mean, we're in the COVID era right now,
Mm-hmm.
and that's
Mm-hmm.
depressing in and of itself.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening? People are stuck at home. We're gaining weight. We can't go out and do the things we used to do. So
Mm-hmm.
it will cause depression. Okay, and it can, and easier than ever, because now what we're doing is we're sitting around on the phones and we're scrolling through other people's lives, and we're spending more and more time on social media. And then when we get back into the world, we can't function. Okay, we
Right.
can't function. And here's the thing that people don't realize: the world is still going on, whether COVID is happening or not. You still have to find a way to function, because at some point this is going to end. Okay. And what you did in the time of COVID, what you did during these moments
Mm-hmm.
it really is going to matter. Now, a lot of people were talking about, I can't wait till things get back to normal. Well, I happen to believe, okay, that most of this right now is our new normal. Okay, so
Right.
we have to make these shifts. We have to make these pivots. You and I, we're doing an interview from here in America, and you're in Canada, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
Yep.
with that being said, this is the new normal. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you're here in America and you're right down the block from me. We're still doing Zoom calls, right? We're still doing, still doing Zoom interviews because of COVID. So
Mm-hmm.
there's certain things that we have to adapt to and have to overcome, because at some point,
Mm-hmm.
people are not going to care if you didn't get yours. So
Mm.
I know it's hard, and again,
Right.
it's difficult for some people, and it's very, very real. But it's also
Right.
very real that this is going to end. And when it ends, okay, where are you going to be when this thing ends? Did you make the
Mm.
pivot? Did you make the shift? Did you adapt and overcome to the situation? Or did you succumb to the situation?
I feel you. And I agree. I think right now is the perfect time, whether you're working from home, you're looking for new ways of starting an online business from home, you're looking for a way to connect with people that you haven't connect with, you're looking for ways to strengthen your mindset and find different positive ways, whether it's exercise from home, outside a little bit, whatever you can do, breathing meditations, brain meditation. This is the time to really develop and find out who you truly are during a time when the world is shut down. Like this is like one of the biggest challenges we can face right now, at least in my lifetime. And the people that I see around me in my community, everyone is struggling. There's a lot of depression, there's a lot of anxiety. But you know what? During these times, we can come together, we can support each other, we can focus on the positive things that we're good at and try to do that towards something for the near future, for the now. Because once, like you said, once this is over, what have you done during the time when it was this lull? Were you up every day, you know, drinking that water, getting the metabolism going, working out, reading something that's professional development, training your brain, connecting, and
And then you're
so
going to be
I
more,
agree.
it's actually going to lead, if you didn't do something and this thing is over, okay, it's
Hmm.
actually going to have another effect on you, because now you're going to be so disappointed in yourself.
Right.
Okay. Because you're going to look back and say, wow, I had 2 years.
Oh,
I thought this thing was
yeah.
going to be over in a year, but it turned into be 2 years. And I'm not putting a timeline on it, but you're going to be upset
Right.
with yourself.
Yeah.
And that becomes another form of depression, because now you feel inadequate, right? Now you feel like, oh my God, I could have done so much better. And that's the story of our life,
Hmm.
man. We look back on all the things that we had opportunities to do in life. Okay. And we could have done better. And I'm not, listen, I don't have it all together. I promise you, I don't have it all together. But when I recognize it, Okay, when I recognize that the world is going in a certain direction, and I'm going to have to adapt to that. Okay, because one thing is not going to happen is the sun is not going to stop rising because Joe is unhappy with the way the world is going. Okay, that's
Mm,
going to come up each and every day, with me or without me. It doesn't care how I feel at that moment. So I can either participate the best way I possibly can, by educating my mind the best way. And we get caught up in the word education, that we think we have to sit in these big institutions and we have to
mhm,
go to big colleges. No, there's so many different things I can't explain to you how many things I've learned on YouTube. Okay, just watching certain things and getting your mind right, whether it's reading online books or whether it's listening to books. If you're not a reader, they have Audible books. Okay,
mhm,
if you don't believe that you're into meditation, just understand that you're meditating on negative things all day long. Okay,
mm,
that's it's a form of meditation. So
right.
when people say to me that, or they say that I'm not into meditation, I just can't meditate. Well, it's something that you're doing every day, whether you realize it or not. You're meditating while watching CNN or Fox News. You're
Right. Right.
meditating because you're putting your brain on that each and every day for that moment. So there's all different forms and ways for us to get out of the things that we're going through and overcome the situations that we're in right now. But you just have to do what works for you. You have to do what works for you. Everything that I do doesn't work for everyone. I'll get people on my page sometimes, and they'll sneak in a little comment, and they said, yeah, well, that's easy for you to say. And that person could have easily kept scrolling, right?
Right.
But
Right.
if that's the interaction you want to have, I can give you a solution to your situation. I can help you with that, and I'm
Sure.
more than willing to. But if you take a piece of information where somebody's trying to give you positive information, or somebody's trying to help you with something, you may not even want to be helped at that moment, because there's people out here who don't want to be helped. They're enjoying this moment because this gives them a reason, because there's so many other people going through it right now. It's almost like when you're overcoming alcohol, or that you shouldn't be drinking alcohol or doing drugs. When you get around those people, you don't feel as bad because everyone's doing it, right?
Mhm.
So now, when it comes down to this form of the situation that we're in right now, when it comes down to COVID, you don't feel as bad sitting on the couch doing nothing because
Everyone's
everyone's
doing it.
doing it, right? You
Wow.
don't feel as bad
Great
sitting
perspective.
down and not being productive because nobody's being productive, right? But I promise you, there's people out there being productive. There's 8 billion people in the world. Some of them
Right.
are being productive. You need to be one of them.
Mm. I love how you put that in perspective, and I hope listeners tuning in really feel that. Like, let's get off the couch, stop watching Netflix. Like, let's start reading. Let's start. What's your hobby? What's your passion? Okay,
Mhm.
how can we create that into a business? How can we put that online? How can you inspire others and be successful just from home, from your bedroom? Like, there's so many amazing ways. What's something you haven't done in a long time that you used to love to do? Pick up that guitar, start playing a little guitar, start learning piano, something. I love that you put that all into perspective. And time is in the essence. And I feel like, when we look back, we want to look back and we want to be grateful for the experiences that we've learned, but we also want to be fulfilled for each moment and second that we had in our past, that created where we are today. And I feel that every way. And especially in the time we're in now, I've never felt more driven and more motivated and more inspired to connect with you, Joe, to connect with other guests on the show, to connect with people listening in when I go to my community and I'm doing my work, full time still. And I'm coming home each night working on music or connecting socially from people across the planet. Like, I just feel like there's more of a drive
Yeah,
because I don't want to be the one sitting down and wasting that time. I
yeah.
know it's not a good feeling.
It's
We need to be fulfilled in this life.
You're right. You're right. You're absolutely right. And it's never been easier, for us to
Yeah.
reach millions of people. Years ago, we didn't have social media. We didn't have this, like, again, like you and I are talking right now from different countries. Years ago, we didn't have this, and our ancestors and people, they made it. They got through it.
Mm,
They figured it out somehow. And again, this is not a rah-rah speech or, some motivation. It's just facts, T. It's just
fair.
the fact that there are people who have been through things worse than us,
I
long
feel you.
for this, man. And we're human beings, man. We're resilient.
Mm,
We're meant to succeed. We were created. We were given the strength by God to win. Okay, and not everybody's going to win. Okay, listen, I'm just going to call it the way it is. Not everybody's going to have a successful life. Not everybody's going to win, but you do have the opportunity to. Okay, there's so many resources out here. There's so many different avenues, and sometimes it just takes you to get around the right people with the right mindset and stop doing the same negative things every single day. And all it takes is one step at a time, just one little thing. Get out of bed tomorrow. If you can't do 5 push-ups, then do one. Okay.
Mhm.
If you can't go out and run around the block, then, walk around the house, whatever you have to do, use your stairs, grab some gallon water bottles. I don't care what it is,
Mhm.
but there's so many people that I'm watching online who have started, cooking channels and started, music channels and
Isn't
piano
it
teachers
cool? It's so
and
cool.
guitar lessons. I'm loving seeing the creativity of human beings, and I'm watching, I'm a big fan of TikTok. I'll be, I'll be the
Okay,
first.
okay.
And
Cool.
one thing, if you guys haven't followed me on TikTok, go follow me. Shameless plug. But
Yeah, yeah.
if you know,
We'll get
I'm a,
there. We'll get there. We'll get there at the
I'm
end.
a big fan of TikTok, man. And one of the things I love watching, okay,
Mhm.
I love watching people do amazing things,
Mhm.
right? I'm watching people jump off mountains without a parachute. I'm not saying, listen, if you're not trained, please don't do what I'm telling you to do, okay? But I'm watching people just skydiving, and I'm watching people, who, they're jumping from hundreds of feet into the water, or they're moving mountains, or they're driving their jeeps or cars up these hills at breakneck speeds. I don't care what it is, but then you're always going to have people who say, "Why would you want to do that?" What
Right.
My question is, why not? Okay, you live once. If you know what you're doing, if you're trained at something, you're actually giving us entertainment to watch. Okay, so somebody's going to do it somewhere, and before we knock other people for what they want to do, let's get our own thing and just realize that there's people out there, human beings, that are doing amazing things, and you could be one of them. And it doesn't have to be reaching 20,000 people. It can just be reaching 10. But find those 10 and help them out.
Amazing. I love listening to you talk. It's incredible. I just get inspired sitting in this chair, Joe,
I,
and
I get tired of hearing
you
myself.
know, yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Um, Going back to if we can take a step back for a moment, and you looking back at the challenges that you faced in your life, those three big challenges for sure. Your father leaving, obesity, kidney disease, all those things, from the moment you were young to your early teens to your early 20s, maybe even going into the 30s. Uh, if so, what was the hardest thing to let go to push yourself forward out of all those things?
I think the hardest thing to let go from me was blame, blame and unforgiveness. It was, for those people who don't know, my story about my dad, you may hear me talk about it like it still hurts, but it doesn't. Okay. As a matter of fact, I can't even remember when it did hurt. Okay. That's how far of the forgiveness process that I'm into, that I can't even remember when it hurt. Right. And what that means to me is that once I got to the point where I realized that, okay, I'm carrying around unforgiveness for someone who cares nothing about me, right? Now, that may be difficult for people to understand, but here you have a person, okay, someone who's not supposed to hurt you in your life, right? A parent, someone who's not supposed to walk away, someone who's not supposed to, to do bad things to us when we're younger. And I realized that, if this person, okay, can hurt you, then anyone can. Then anyone can. So what I had to do is I had to get rid of the unforgiveness. Okay. And I started to realize at a young age that forgiveness wasn't for him. Forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness was for me,
Mm.
because I was the one that was carrying it around. I was the one that was holding on to it, thinking about it, all these things. I didn't talk about it much, or, don't get me wrong, I made it. I made it. I'm here, and I had to get rid of that. And here's the thing. I have now forgiven him over 20 years ago, but he doesn't even realize it. He doesn't even realize it. And this is something that people don't understand. You don't have to have contact with someone to forgive what they did to you. You don't. And that's a clear example of how that forgiveness is for you. Okay, these people, whether they're still alive, and he's still alive, whether they're still alive or they've gone on, it's okay to forgive them for what they've done, right? Because what do we want from God, right? We want forgiveness from God, and Lord knows we've done some stuff. Okay, that maybe we don't deserve forgiveness for, but God gives us forgiveness every single time we do something, right?
Mhm.
Um, that's not to say that we should abuse that. Don't abuse doing things and just think that God's going to forgive you over and over again, because that just becomes abuse. But what happens is we want forgiveness from people, but we're not giving forgiveness to people. Okay, we get what we give in life. Okay, what goes around comes around. I know it's cliche, right? Um, but we get what we give in life. So if we give forgiveness to people, okay, then we'll get forgiveness for the things that we've done. Okay, because we've done things to people, we've hurt people, and we don't want to walk around with that. So that was one of the things, that was one of the biggest things that I had to get rid of, was that unforgiveness, because that led into me doing things that I didn't forgive myself for. And I saw the cycle. I saw the cycle brewing, and I didn't want to pass that on to my kids. I have a young daughter and I have a son. I didn't want to pass that on to them, of not understanding what forgiveness really means. So that was one of the things that I had to really, really implement and let go of, and playing the blame game. Because again, I learned from that situation alone that whether he was here or not, that son came up the next day. Whether I had a father or whether I had a mother, the sun kept rising every single day, and I needed to rise with it. And what
Mm.
the world was not going to stop, because my father wasn't in my life. Now, the one thing that I did do, and this was probably, I'm almost 50 years old now. Probably about 3 years ago, I reached out to my dad. Okay, and I reached out through my uncle, who was his brother, who I have a relationship with, believe it or not. But when I reached out to him, I said, listen, I said, would you please just pass this message on to him, that it's okay. We're good. I'm okay. I know we're not going to play ball. I know we're not going to go out and have a drink. I know we're not going to sit down at the barbecue, but I want him to know it's okay if he would like to talk to me. I'm a man now. He's got grandkids and things like that. I have my own family, but when I do this, I need to realize that there may be a yes or there may be a no.
Mm.
Right, T? So I
Mhm.
do it. I reach out to him, and he comes back with a message, and he says, you tell him, meaning me, that I never want to hear from him again. So that was me again showing humility, okay, being humble and forgiving someone. And this is what I want your listeners to understand, is that even though he didn't want to speak to me, I was still good with that, because now I have more clarity. Now I know that if something happens to him or if he dies, I don't have to go to his funeral.
Mm.
Something
Wow.
happens to me, he doesn't have to come to mine. And it doesn't have to be that uncomfortable feeling of, what, hey, just so you know, your dad passed away. I don't know what to do now. Do I go to the funeral? Do I go? His family doesn't even know me. I don't have to worry about that anymore. God took
Mhm.
care of that. God took care of everything for me, and all I did. And now I feel so much better that I tried everything I possibly could try. And that's the one thing I want you guys to understand, and you to understand. Always try everything you could possibly try to fix a situation. And if it doesn't work, then at least you gave your best. You
Mm.
gave your best.
Joe, thank you for sharing that. That's very powerful. And one thing I've recognized and experienced in this lifetime is that forgiveness is one of the most powerful things. And if you forgive and let go, it creates so much freedom.
Mm,
And I've learned this so much over the course of these past few years. And it's very important. I think it's a very important value and big thing in our life that can really make or break you in a lot of feelings that you get moving forward. It can, because if you don't forgive yourself or forgive the people that you love, that sticks with you.
sure.
That creates almost like venom. It creates this toxicity that sits with you.
Sure.
And I find that what you said is very important. I think people listening and tuning in need to understand that forgiveness is very, very significant in our lives,
Yeah. And
and
it's,
it
it's not
creates
easy.
freedom.
It's not easy, and You know, some people will say that, you know, well, that's easy for you to. No, that wasn't easy. That
Mm,
was not. Do you know how long it took for me to make that decision to say, you know what, I'm just going to reach out to him as a
yeah.
grown man? I didn't have to. You know,
Hmm.
I cried that day. You know, as a 45-year-old man, I cried that day. But but here's the thing. See, I didn't know if my tears were tears of freedom, right?
Hmm.
Of release, of finally getting all of it off of me. Like I got it all, like everything.
Hmm.
There's not even a residual there anymore. It's like all of those things in my past never even happened. And that is the greatest thing for me. Now I turned that pain into power, and I'm able to use that situation as my story. And I'm able to help other people who may go through that, because not only am I telling you about it, but I'm living proof, sir. I'm living
Hmm.
proof, ma'am, that you can overcome that. You can beat that if you just take the right channels, if you just approach it the right way and just realize that some things in life are going to go your way and some things are not. You just have to adapt and overcome to those things and realize that you're going to win. Somewhere along the line, you're going to win, but you got to keep fighting.
Incredible. Incredible. I my heart's been pounding when you've been sharing this story about your father, and I feel like I need to share and get a little vulnerable here now that
Sure.
we're live. And so not a lot of people know this, but so my biological father actually left me and my mother when I was a young child, and for years, you know, growing up, you know, my mom did get remarried, and you know, shout out to my dad today. He's an amazing soul. I love him. He's been my dad, you know, since for the first one decided to leave, right?
God bless.
And God bless, you know. And but you know, my whole life I always had this sitting with me, and for a long time, it's just it's one of those things where you want to reconnect in a way, and you want to touch base, and you want to know what's going on. You want to know, you know, like, does he want to, you know, play basketball or shoot some puck with me? You know, is he thinking about me? And so for years in high school, I think in high school, we try to connect, and I remember when we were trying to connect, um, it wasn't the best time. And when we try to connect, uh, when I wanted to connect and learn and connect with my biological father on a wavelength of, like, you know, I'm the son that you left, you know, my mother and myself, and I
Mm.
just want to connect with you almost as a brother, as a friend. And I don't want to know about the past. I don't want to know too much about, like, your side of the story, my mom's side of the story. And I found that when I was connecting that way, it became this, like, energy on that side trying to explain a lot of the I guess you could say resentment of leaving and
Mm.
going into it. And I allowed for that story to share, but I never really felt that connection in a way where I felt like it was a humble, loving way. And I try to connect.
Mm.
So we lost connection there. And then years moving forward, I think I was in my early 20s, and I got a phone call from my office, and it was one of his coworkers or close friend that decided to call me from my office and said, "Hey, you know, I'm your biological father's really close friend. We were at this hockey tournament for our sons." And I was like, "Oh, no way!" So I guess I have this, like, half brother that's playing hockey, and apparently this young guy is a really good hockey player at his young age. You know, he was like in the Sidney Crosby, like, little Timbits tournaments, you know, like, so he's doing well. And I thought that was really fascinating, you know. And so anyways, I get this phone call. I told this guy's like, "You're very brave and courageous for reaching out to me, by the way. I just want to say, like, you know, to try to connect with me on behalf of my biological father." And I guess he didn't want to make that call. His friend wanted to do it for him, and I guess because he saw maybe a photo of me on LinkedIn at the time, you know, representing my, you know, work experience back then, and it was interesting. He was asking questions and this and that, and you can tell he was like basically the messenger to my biological father, the representative, you know, to try to build this connection.
Yeah.
And Joe, it was just thinking about it right now, it's just like it makes my heart pump full of blood. And I remember just leaving. So I'm in Ottawa here, and I remember just leaving my office that day, and decided to give my phone number, and you know, we connected, we had a conversation, and you know, I wanted to give it another chance. You know, like, in high school, I'm young, I'm immature, I didn't know, it was scary for me. But now that I'm in my early mid 20s at the time, I built a little bit of maturity, and I want to kind of know, what's my real father going on, like my biological father, what's this guy up to? Like, who is he? Like, what are you doing? So, so I remember having some conversation, and it was actually really exciting, to hear the voice, and it was exciting to listen to him tell his story of where he's at right now, and that he has some kids, and a partner, and he's doing some really cool work, and really, it was really fun. I don't need to get into it, but he was doing some cool work, and he's been in that workforce for a long time, and unfortunately, like near the end of that, so after that conversation, we started connecting. Those phone calls started happening a little more often. It would, a couple days later, we would connect again, and we're sharing about our day and this and that, how we're going. It really felt good, honestly, Joe. It felt really good to connect. And so it was I guess at this time years ago, it was a little bit before Christmas, and I wasn't aware, but I guess he does have a little bit of some personal challenges, and maybe some of that could be involved with substance abuse. I'm not too sure, but all I know is that it started really coming out in the conversation, and I remember him started really getting aggressive and forward when we started speaking about his side of the story and really diving into that. And right away, Joe, like, I thought that it was something that God was like, yeah, like connect with him, and we can start off as friends, like, at the end of the day, like, why don't we start as brothers, friends, like, just let's connect on a friendship basis. And he really started diving into I don't want to say too much into it, but things that my mom, talking about my mom in a certain way, and really getting into like this like negative energy that he was lashing out in the conversations, and it started becoming a very persistent aggressive thing. And it really shut me off. And I was disappointed, like, the 20 something years, you're thinking about sometimes your biological father, of course. And now I'm almost 30 years old, and it's probably been about 6-7 years since I had that conversation. And I remember I said, listen, I need some time. I need some space right now, just to kind of absorb what our conversation, because it's a lot. It's heavy. And to me, it means a lot as well. And I know no one's perfect. I know we're not all perfect. I know that we all come from different walks of life, and we do face our own personal battles and challenges. And, sometimes we don't communicate the things we want to say, because of our emotions sometimes are taking the best of us.
Exactly.
And Joe, it was like, I feel like my life has been a movie based in one of those scenes in my life. That's a chapter in my life that it still hasn't even finished. And maybe he listens to this live stream and connects sometime. I don't know, but all I know is that we lost connection since that time. There was a lot of aggression and persistence, and I just needed time, because I felt not attacked, but I felt that attack of type of energy towards something that doesn't need to even be like addressed. Like, let's just start fresh now, like, I just wanted to start fresh now.
Sure.
I just said, at the end of the day, we are where we are now. Whatever happened in the past, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. Like, I love you for who you are right now, because we're connecting right now. And I was like really engaged. I was like, this is going to be awesome. But you know what? It didn't work out. And I believe, who knows, maybe it will work out in another time. But I really love going back to what you were saying, is that I learned how to forgive, and I learned how to let go. And it did create freedom for myself, and putting myself in a positive mindset when it comes to family members that you do, even though you're not seeing them. But in my heart, like, I do love and care about the people in my life. He created me like this, you know what I mean? So just wanted to share that. I've never shared that any live. I've never shared that. I've shared that, to maybe my mom and whatnot, but here we are from Canada all the way to New Jersey. But so Joe, that's the first time I ever shared that live.
Yeah, it's so freeing, man, that you're able to do that. Because the big thing you said is it's chapters. That was a chapter in your life, and who knows, that chapter may revisit, may reopen sometime down the line. And if so, then it is what it is. Like if my father reached out to me today, I'd accept his phone call.
Mm,
I don't want you to think that, that I'll never speak to him again. But at this point, it's on him. And
right.
here's the one thing, T, that you realize in life as you go through that process is that you'll meet many people in your lifetime. Well, we're going to meet many people in our lifetime, and the conversation that I've had with you, right, in 30 minutes, you have given me more than my biological father has. How crazy is that, right? So as long as you're open, okay, as long as you're open to these different relationships and different friendships and learning from other people, you know, I realized later on in my life that had I pushed and pushed and pushed and forced myself into his life, I might have been forcing myself into a negative situation, right? I may have been forcing myself into a
Mm,
separation that God may have created, right? And I may have picked up his habits. I may have picked up the negative things that he has done in his life, and I don't know all of them, and I'm not judging him for it, but he actually made me a better person by not being in my life, because now I know how to fight through things. I had to find some things out on my own. I had to go, fishing for my first time on my own. I had to do some
mm,
things on my own for the first time. And those life lessons from that young age spilled over into, the kidney dialysis. I got through that. I can get through this. When I first failed out of the police academy, I got through that. I'll get through this. When I first failed at, motor school and SWAT school, okay, these are failures. Okay. And these are just brief chapters. But at the end of the day, I fought back and I made it through each and every one of them.
mm,
So understanding that the different chapters in our life, you're going to fail. You're going to have some disappointments. You're going to have some heartbreaks. You're going to have some people who break your heart, but at the end of the day, and you'll hear me always say this, the sun is going to come up. And it's up to you whether you come up with it or not. That's it.
well said, Joe. I love that. You're an inspiration. Circling back to your entire story, broken up into those three really big challenges and chapters in your life, and looking back and all the experiences and where you are today. If so, what would you do differently to overcome everything you went through?
Hmm. Wow. I'm sure most people would probably answer this question. I wouldn't do anything differently.
Mhm.
Um, but I'd be lying to you if I said that. There's quite a few things that I would do differently, and I can respect people who say I wouldn't do anything differently. But for me, I would open myself to understanding more sooner, sooner. Um, because there was some resistance that I had. There's that pride that we have as men, because I figured out so many things on my own for so long that it took me a while to open up to really understand that the world is a big, big place and there's so much to learn, but once I got that clarity and once I realized that, even with my law enforcement career, it was just a 20-year stepping stone. What's next?
Mm,
Here I am right now. I'm 50 years old in a couple of days. What's next? So if I had a chance to do some things over again in my life, besides making those bad decisions with relationships and all the other crap that we talk about, if I had a
mm,
chance to do some things over again in my life, I would open up my mind a lot sooner to listen to what some of the older people were telling me and what some of the people who I thought were old men at 50 years old. Here I am 50 now. And I would take each and every bit of piece of people that I came across in my life, and I would take it and I would mold that into myself a lot sooner, because I love who I am now, man. I love it. I love myself. I love being the person that I am. I love giving to people. And it's not conceit, man. It's just truly love. When you
mm,
learn how to love yourself,
mhm.
you really learn how to love other people. You can't love
Hell
other
yeah.
people until you love yourself. You really can't. You really can. And I hope that people can really understand. That's another podcast in itself, man. We'll
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
get into,
I
that's that.
agree. Loving
Yeah,
yourself is important. And when you love yourself, you're a better lover towards the people in your community, to your
yeah,
clients, to your colleagues, your relationships, to your family,
yeah,
most importantly to God.
yeah. I would have learned how to love myself sooner.
Hmm.
So
Amazing, Joe. So I wanted to jump on the comment section. We got Melissa Baker. So let's just throw this on the screen here. It's just a fire emoji. So I think she's feeling the heat tonight and the energy.
I accept that.
All right. Awesome.
I
Good.
accept.
Thank you, Melissa Baker. Show. Thanks for tuning in and listening in. What is Joe doing today? So Joe, what are you doing today for, when you're waking up with that sun and you're choosing to make a difference and you're putting on that smile on and that positivity? What are you doing today? Whether it's for your, let's get into the podcast, the business, the things that you're doing for your community, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm an early riser, T. I need to. A lot of people will say, "Why do you get up at 4:45 in the morning? Why do you set your alarm?" My daughter says the same thing. You don't have to get up anymore. You don't have to get up that early. I realize that I have to prime myself, to deal with the craziness of the world, man. I really do. That has worked for me. So, my morning routine, it consists of that. It consists of me waking up early. The first thing I do is prayer and scripture. The next thing I do is I go right into whether it's a spiritual read or whether it's a self improvement read, and then I'll go into then I'll hit my YouTube and I'll listen to a motivational video, a spiritual video, whether it's a preacher or whether it's just something motivational, and all these things are taking place in my headphones this whole time. This is what I'm meditating on in the morning. And then shortly after that, I'm off to the gym to try to keep
Nice.
his old body. So I'm
40-year-old body, 40-year-old body. Let's go.
Right.
Let's go.
I'm creating balance, man. That's what it comes down to, creating balance. And then, I'm able to be prepared for things like my podcast, the JH Overcomes podcast, where we come at you each and every week, with something that you can help overcome, your situation with, and I'm learning so much each and every day, man, from even, just running the podcast, the JH Overcomes podcast. And, I've come across some serious stories, man, on my podcast that makes me, it makes my story look, really, really small, and it's something that's helping me to understand, like, Joe, you really don't have it that bad, man. There's so many people out there that are going through things that are a lot worse than you. You have to get up. You have to keep fighting. You have to keep pushing. And this is one of the ways that I continue to help people past law enforcement. This is, on and off the job, is I started the podcast, and I hope that I'm able to touch, millions of lives with it, with my story and with other people's stories of overcoming adversity, no matter what in your life, you can overcome, and not everyone will. I'm a realist, I understand that. But if you follow the right steps, if you do the right things, that's exactly what you do. You'll overcome. So with that being said, I have that. You can reach me on Facebook. You can reach me on Instagram. You can reach me on TikTok. And it's all under JH Overcomes or Joe Hammond. You will find me. Okay, I'm the funny looking guy with all the different color shirts on every other day, and dropping a message to you each and every day the best way I possibly can.
Thank you, Joe, for sharing that. I love your brand. I love your message. I love your story. It's very empowering. First responders, law enforcement officers, or just a regular folk, in your workday. If you need some support, if you need to connect with Joe, you could reach him and follow him. If you have Instagram, it's JH_Overcome_Joe_Hammond here, just on this page. And then Joe, you mentioned that you had your podcast. What's your website, just so we can throw it out there for the folks listening in?
It is jhovercomes.com.
Cool. Simple. Amazing. Just like that. Yeah.
It's on the podcast is on Apple. It's on Spotify. It's
Nice.
on it's everywhere, man. It's on iHeart. All you got to do is just your favorite listening device, man. Your favorite listening platform. Just type in JH Overcomes, and you'll find this mug. It's there smiling again.
Awesome. So yes, everyone listening and tuning in, please go connect with Joe. Listen to his episodes. He's got amazing past episodes and really good things coming up. Joe, I know you're going to do incredible things in this world. I know you're going to make the biggest impact that you've always wanted to do, and you're continue growing each day. I can see it. People that have Instagram, please follow his page. Joe is full of inspiration and motivation. it's become this thing ever since we've connected in this past, I think a month ago we connected. And shout out to Zandre for connecting us, for the referral, for coming on hashtag Stories of Healing. And I've been so looking forward to having this episode with you. And when I started following you and seeing your posts, I now wake up with the sun rising, and I'm on my way to work, or I'm going to work, and I'm at my work, and I happen to check my phone, let's say on break or lunchtime, and I see your positive your posts, and I feel it, and I'm like, nice. I'm like, I feel it. I'm like, this is awesome. Let's heart this. Amen. Let's go. Because it's people like you that are gonna create motivation and support others around in this community, in this world. And with your story and your message, and you have a very good you have this very good energy of you, this positive energy. And I think what you'll continue doing is spreading that throughout the world right now. And our world needs it more than ever. Going back, we said our world needs it more than ever. And you're the light and you're the heart that's going to shine through the times that we need. So I just want to say thank you, Joe. One more question. Joe, if listeners tuning in, young ones, let's say young ones that have ambition to be in law enforcement, to be first responders, whether, ambulance, police officer, in the military, or say any individual listening in or watching a recaps video that are currently in law enforcement or as a first responder, what are some words of inspiration or insight or some wisdom that you can share right now to them listening in that would help them overcome their adversities and their challenges if they're feeling their own personal battles that is affecting their workplace or what they're going through right now in this world today?
Well, I'll say this for those of you who are, those young people who want to get into, law enforcement or first responders, want to help people, just realize that that's exactly what it is about. It's not a short-term thing. You really have to be made and built, and get yourself in the mindset that you're doing this to help other people, whether it's the military, you're there to serve the country. And this is exactly what we do. We serve, and for my brothers and sisters that are currently in law enforcement, right now is probably one of the toughest times in the world to put a police uniform on. I know you feel underappreciated. I know that it's very, very difficult for you to go out there and keep going out there every day. And, we're getting spit on and, pushed around and mocked and ridiculed. But the one piece of encouragement that I'll give you is one thing that I always took with me is remember why you took the job in the first place. Okay. Remember why you put the badge on. Remember why you picked up that medical bag. Remember why you got out here to help people. It was to help people. Okay, this is exactly why you started. And I don't want you to let the career, the people, the negative people in the career, move you away from that thought process. I don't want you to let, the negative things that are going on in this world move you away from that. Okay, you are there to protect and serve people who cannot protect and serve themselves. And that's exactly why you took the job in the first place. So if I can encourage you, okay, don't worry about the politics. Don't worry about what people think about you. Don't worry about the negative coworkers or the admins, the things that us cops and people think about all the time. Just when it gets too heavy for you, when it gets too much up for you, and you need to go speak to somebody, please go speak to somebody. Speak to me. Reach out to me. You know how to get in touch with me. But when it gets too much, just remember why you took the job in the first place. And that was to protect and serve people and to help people who couldn't help themselves. And that little thing should be the one thing that resonates in your mind each and every day you strap up.
You're an inspiration, Joe.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe, for coming on hashtag Stories of Healing podcast. Everyone listening in and tuning in, thank you. Tune in midweek next week. We're going to have a new episode. Please connect with Joe. He's an amazing soul. As we can see, all the positivity and love, and through your story that we heard tonight, I know and I believe it's going to resonate through people's hearts. So thank you, Joe, for coming on tonight. Thank you, everyone, for listening in, and have a good night.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.